for somebody who's a little bit maybe, not as tough-minded, his bar of like, oh, I'm feeling a little tired, it might be much, 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 much lower than like the experienced lifter. And then he might be thinking to himself, it's like, oh man, I just lifted 2 days. Maybe I should take an off week, right? And then it's the same mentality of, okay, I'm a little tired, I should take a rest day, but taken far too far. And then you never even give yourself the stimulus to recover. But what I'm getting into is obviously more consistent cardio, guaranteed better, more consistent calorie tracking, guaranteed better results. But no, what I really wanted to get back to was set by set intensity, because of course there's room for not fluff sets, but just kind of some pump work, not total failure, just getting the squeeze. You're kind of aiming for more of a subjective burn, right? Like at the end of a chest day or a leg day, actually mainly chest and arms, like I might do light curls, kind of quick reps. I'm not really focusing on getting like a perfect squeeze, because my biceps might have already been wrecked by the 5 or 6 sets I already did before. I'm just trying to get some extra blood into them. But for most of the real working sets on a lift by lift by lift basis, the meat and potatoes of what you're really getting after, your real just working sets, leaving reps in the tank, I don't see it. I understand the argument of the potential reps in reserve, and maybe you're getting reasonably balanced results if you leave 5 and if you leave 3. Now, I don't think 5, but let's say you leave 2 reps in reserve, something along those lines. You're approaching that failure threshold. But from how I'm looking at it, your overall just like mentality and internal hype, that can change how many reps I can even do. So let's say I'm doing tricep pushdowns or overhead extensions or something, and I'm at like rep 15, and these reps are slowing down. They're not moving much. If I've really got some kind of awesome, perfect song going, or some kind of like just visualized like scenario or anything, and I'm really getting after it, I can basically dig a little deeper and get a few more reps. Whereas if I'm a little more, maybe out of it, maybe I'm not clicking, maybe I didn't get awesome sleep, or I'm not hydrated enough, or any number of things that could maybe mess up my headspace, then with the exact same like preparation and strength, like both of these scenarios, I could get, let's say 20. In a perfect world, I could get 20. But if I'm not really as into it, maybe I only get 14. Whereas when I'm really locked in, I can get upwards of like 16, 17, 18. So the fact that these sets are kind of not only limited by your physical capability, but also your mental capability of just the uncomfortability of that little end of the set portion, like those last 3, 5 reps, whatever. The fact that it's so dependent on like so many different things, the idea that you can guess, and not even guess, but like know, like, yeah, I've got 3 reps in reserve, I just don't see it, because what that really sounds like. Yeah, I could run 5 miles. I'm not going to do it, but I could do it. I could lock in, but I don't, like, I could if I wanted to, right? So there might be some logic there, right? Maximize stimulus, minimize fatigue, some things like that. But from how I look at it, just on like a personal note of how that sounds to me, it sounds like I don't want to do those last few reps. Oh, people say I don't have to? Nice. I'm leaving reps in reserve. So there's a difference between like the 20 years of training powerlifter guy, where he's like, yeah, you're pushing it really to total maximized failure for me. I mean, just with all the time it just doesn't, because he's actually experienced it. He's not just he's not saying that, or the things that he's saying isn't just more right because he's done it, but he's found it out for himself. Like, he actually has gone through the process of knowing, like, yeah, it's probably not in my best interest to squat anymore. Too much fatigue, too much spinal compression for me. I mean, I've done it. I used to do it way more, but now it just doesn't make as much sense. It's a very different scenario for him to say, I got to back off on the heavy work, get a little more lighter, get a little less, less kind of joint tension, and just focus more on muscle stimulus and isolation. It's very different for the seriously experienced guy to say that versus, somebody who just got into training. Maybe squats are a little freaky. I mean, I can agree with that. Squats are, back when I really started squatting heavy, I'd be nervous. Like, I would be thinking about the squat in the leg day like 3 days in advance because like I hadn't been used to that much weight before. But let's say you're not really into squatting. It's a little freaky. It's much more comfortable to say, yeah, squats, it's so much spinal compression, bro. It's just so much tension on your knees. I'm gonna have a way better time just doing controlled, isolated quad movements, like regular, like hacks or something else, right? So these two guys are saying the same thing, which the statement has a reasonable logic. Like, it's not like they just made this shit up, but the motivation behind why they're each saying that and why they each come to that conclusion, very different. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not trying to leave anything in the tank because I know I'm already getting stopped internally, like with my mind, because the action of doing a set to failure, like with those rows, it's a stress. Like, it's freaking out. Like, my nervous system is like, what the fuck is going on? Like, the only time you ever seriously exert yourself like that in nature, which, don't forget, genetically we're not really far off from back when all we were doing was tons of just hunter-gatherer kind of shit. Like, there's some changes, but it's pretty similar. That's what we kind of came up with. Not came up with, but came up with. So the only time that your body has been used to that like physical active exertion was either you're trying to kill something or something's trying to kill you and you're defending yourself. So in your mind, that's like a pretty freaking situation. We're kind of wired for self-preservation. So if I've already got potential just signals stopping me from firing my lats any more than I can muster, then why would I want to limit myself before that? So that's where the reps in reserve argument, I would ask anybody who maybe likes that idea to actually kind of reflect, okay, do I like this because it makes like actual training logic based sense and I'm really, or am I only interested in this style of this style of set because it's making my workouts easier? And for the most part, across the board, at least in anything like training related, dieting related, anything that's like a little bit of a too good to be true, it is. It's just kind of the freaking snake oil gimmick. Like all the, I want to stop even getting into this debate because it's like I'm getting rage baited by the TikTok like upper, lower, push, pull, whatever trends, because these guys are having serious debates. I mean, I'm looking in the comments, it's like paragraphs of upper lower is the superior split because of blank. The guy's been lifting for 1.5 years. I'm not saying that there's any problem with that, of course, right? I was lifting for 1.5 years once, but I might not have expected anybody to listen to my training philosophies back then. But it's the flashy parts of the working out. What split you're doing, what sets and styles you're doing, how many reps you leave in reserve, what kind of maybe you're doing. And it's like, as much as things are changing, we're talking about social media, we're getting more fancy equipment, we're getting freaking studies out the wazoo on different lats and strength and length and part. The gym, at least as far as I'm concerned, in any meaningful capacity, there's no change in this shit. Heavy weights being moved around. And it doesn't, even once people are walking around with Neuralinks and half augmented reality, there's no getting around the fact that you've got to throw some shit around and reap the